So, how exactly does a race car driver with just one major win go on to build an $80 million empire? Well, that is the incredible story of Danica Patrick, a name that, let's be honest, became way bigger than motorsports itself. In this explainer, we're going to break down the exact formula she used to build a fortune that actually rivals some of the most decorated drivers in history.
Okay, let's just start with the big number. $80 million. Yep, you heard that right. That's the estimated net worth of Danica Patrick. It's a staggering figure that puts her right up there with the wealthiest people in the entire world of racing. And that number immediately brings up the huge paradox of her whole career. I mean, how do you build a fortune of that size with only a single major series victory to your name? It almost seems like it doesn't add up. But as we're about to see, the answer is basically a masterclass in modern branding.
Let's really break this down. So on one side of the scale, you've got the money. She was one of the top 6 richest NASCAR stars, pulling in over $12 million in 2017 alone, in a single year. But then on the other side of the scale, you have the on-track results. 1. Single, landmark win, the 2008 Indy Japan 300. This tells you one thing loud and clear. Those paychecks weren't just coming from the winner's circle.
But here's the thing. To even begin to understand the brand, you first have to understand the driver. Because make no mistake about it, this entire empire was built on a rock-solid foundation of real, legitimate, history-making talent on the racetrack.
She wasn't just another female driver. She was a genuine trailblazer. I mean, to this day, she is still the only woman to have ever won an IndyCar Series race. Let that sink in. This wasn't some fluke, it was a history-making performance that totally cemented her legacy. It gave her the launchpad for everything that was about to come. All right, so we've got the driving talent established. Now for the second piece of the puzzle, and you could argue it's the most powerful one, the creation of Danica, the brand. This was a commercial juggernaut, the likes of which the sport had really never seen before. You know, when she burst onto the IndyCar scene back in 2005, her fame just exploded, going way beyond the racetrack. She was smart. She leaned into her unique position in a completely male-dominated sport, and a few really savvy marketing moves transformed her from just a talented driver into a full-blown pop culture icon. And what happens when you become an icon? The brands come calling. A massive chunk of her income came from endorsements. And we are not talking about small-time deals here. We're talking global giants. GoDaddy, Coca-Cola, Chevrolet. These sponsorships made her one of the most visible athletes on the entire planet. And all that visibility was then amplified by a really strategic media presence. I mean, she wasn't just in sports magazines. She was on the cover of everything from FHM to TV Guide. This constant exposure kept her in the public eye and built a brand that was just as much about her personality as it was about her racing. So, what was the secret sauce? This quote from The Guardian, I think, just absolutely nails it. The writer called her an anti-Milan, meaning, instead of trying to just blend in and be one of the guys, she thrived by totally owning her womanhood. She became this fascinating figure, part sports pinup, part powerful symbol of a woman crushing it on her own terms in a tough man's world. And that combination? It was marketing gold. But the strategy didn't just stop with getting big endorsement deals. The next evolution, the real power move, was to go from being the face of other people's brands to becoming the owner of her own. This is the pivot. This is where you see the shift from athlete to CEO. She leveraged that massive name recognition she'd built up and poured it into her own businesses. First, there was her clothing line, Warrior by Danica Patrick. And then she moved into luxury goods with her very own vineyard in California called Somnium. And this right here is how you build true wealth, by creating assets that keep generating income long after you've hung up the racing helmet for good. Okay, so let's put all these pieces together. How did she really do it? It's time to answer that $80 million question. Look, her fortune wasn't built on just one thing. It was a powerful 3-part formula. Part 1, her legitimate history-making skill as a driver. Part 2, her absolute dominance as a marketing phenomenon and pop culture icon. And Part 3, her super savvy transition into an entrepreneur who owned her own brands. You mix those 3 things together, and that is the recipe for an $80 million empire. And that leaves us with one final big question. In an era where an athlete's personal brand can be just as valuable as their on-field performance, is the Danica Patrick formula the new blueprint? Is success for the modern athlete no longer just about winning, but about building a multifaceted empire that lasts long after the final race is run? It's definitely something to think about.